Hey everyone, welcome back. Recently I did a video on the mishandling of classified information during the transition between presidential administrations, and in that video I said that I wouldn't be surprised if another former president or vice president came out and said that they had found additional classified documents in their possession that they didn't know they were in possession of. And sure enough, recently it came out that former Vice President Mike Pence had several classified documents in his home. Now, again, as I said in that video, there is obviously a gap in our national security infrastructure during that transition, and that needs to be looked into. However, the thing that I'm starting to see now, which concerns me, is that people are starting to say that all three of these instances are exactly the same: Trump, Biden, and Pence. And they're two-thirds right. Biden and Pence have very similar issues where they discovered documents that they didn't know of and then immediately notified the authorities. However, Trump is the odd man out here, and very likely he is the only one of the three who is likely to face criminal consequences for his actions regarding classified documents. So let's get into a discussion of why his case is different and why he is most certainly in the most trouble. In order to make a fair assessment of these three cases, we're going to need to set some criteria. Personally, I think that the best criteria are the crimes alleged in the Mar-A-Lago search warrant, which, just as a quick reminder, are willful retention of national security information, as well as 2 different counts of obstruction of justice. This will help us really compare apples to apples and see why Donald Trump's case is so much different from the Pence and Biden cases. We're going to start off with an assessment of the 2 similar cases, Pence and Biden. In both of these cases, lawyers for their respective clients discovered that there were national security documents stored in locations where they shouldn't have been. They didn't have any previous knowledge of these documents being there, but once they were discovered, they contacted the appropriate authorities, that being the National Archives and the Department of Justice, so that the documents could be returned in an expedited manner. I think especially in Mike Pence's case, his lawyers, having seen both the Trump and Biden issues, were like, we know we've said that we don't have any, but we need to triple check. And sure enough, they ended up finding a couple of documents. So, just shows that one can never be too careful. When we compare these 2 cases to our criteria, it's very easy to see that neither Pence nor Biden is guilty of willful retention of national security information or obstructing justice. Neither of these 2 gentlemen seem to have been aware that they had these classified documents, and once they became aware, they immediately contacted the appropriate authorities and arranged for those documents to be turned in. Additionally, they have both been cooperating with investigations, with especially President Biden allowing the FBI to search one of his residences where they did uncover more documents. And in this kind of a case, that's what we would want to see and what I would hope we will see Vice President Pence do as well. Once you know that there has been a breach, it needs to be fully investigated to ensure that there is no other missing classified information, and to begin the process of understanding how these documents came to be removed from the White House or from other places where they were stored, how they came to be at these private residences or other unsecure locations, and that eventually leads into what steps can be taken to ensure that these, events do not happen again. While these are both bad things, and certainly, any leak of classified information is, an obvious issue when it comes to national security, neither of these cases rises to a level of criminality, and I think they can both be attributed to, frankly, honest mistakes. However, the same cannot be said for former President Donald Trump. Unlike Pence and Biden, he was actually informed by the National Archives that he was most likely in possession of documents, both classified and unclassified, that needed to be returned to the archives. They informed him of this on more than one occasion and eventually asked the Justice Department to serve Trump with a subpoena for those documents. Obviously, a subpoena is a legal requirement to produce those documents, and once they received that subpoena, Donald Trump's lawyers conducted what they claimed to be a thorough search, and then signed that they had found no documents. And when your lawyer says that we are signing on behalf of our client that something is true, it can be assumed in the court of law that their client says it as well. So, if Trump's lawyers say there's no documents, it is the equivalent of Donald Trump saying there are no documents. So, after that, the FBI says, we don't believe you. They continue their investigation and eventually gathered enough evidence to bring to a judge, stating that there are classified documents there, and that is how they got their search warrant. They executed it at Mar-A-Lago, found hundreds of classified records as well as thousands of other government records that Donald Trump was not supposed to have, and things continued on from there. So, as one would expect, since these are crimes that the Department of Justice alleges that Donald Trump committed, these cases are going to line up pretty easily. On the willful retention side, Donald Trump was informed that he was likely in possession of classified material. He then conducted a search alongside his lawyers where they claimed they produced nothing, but I find it very hard to believe that they didn't come across this classified information. So, once they came across it and decided that they were going to tell the Department of Justice, no, we don't have any documents, that is willful retention. He knows he's in possession of them, and he is refusing to give them back, despite a subpoena from the Department of Justice to fork over the documents. Then we turn to obstruction of justice. Through his lawyers, Donald Trump lied to the Department of Justice under oath, saying that we've conducted our thorough search, there are no documents here, leave us alone. Obviously, that didn't turn out to be true, and, well, that is textbook obstruction of justice. Lying to investigators as they are trying to conduct an investigation, obviously in this case into the mishandling of classified documents, in order to protect yourself from any potential legal consequences. And that's, I think, a fairly clear-cut case too. Obviously, we are still seeing this develop in court, and no official charges have been filed yet, but this certainly looks, on the face of it, to be a very strong case on both the retention of documents and obstruction of justice side of things. So, we'll have to wait and see how the cases develop. But certainly, I think this illustrates the difference between Donald Trump's mishandling of classified documents and the issues that we saw with Mike Pence and Joe Biden. So to quickly recap, obviously it's never a good thing when classified information ends up in an unsecured setting. Should the information in those documents be leaked, there could be serious negative consequences for U.S. national security, and a full investigation is always warranted. The U.S. government needs to be aware of how those documents came to be in an unsecured location, what consequences there might be for national security interests, and what steps can be taken to ensure these events don't happen again in the future. However, not all cases are created equal, and when we look at the cases of Joe Biden, Mike Pence, and Donald Trump, one of them is significantly worse than the other two. With Joe Biden and Mike Pence, both of them were initially unaware that they had those documents, and once they became aware, they immediately contacted the authorities, returned the documents, and cooperated fully with the investigations. In contrast, Donald Trump, when he was informed by the National Archives that he was in possession of the documents, denied that he had them, and generally speaking, willfully retained those documents and obstructed the Department of Justice investigation and attempts to retrieve those documents. So, yeah. If people are trying to tell you that all three of these cases are the same, they most certainly are not. And if I had to choose to be one of these three men, I definitely wouldn't want to be former President Trump in this case. Think about it.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of my content, subscribe to the channel and make sure to hit the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post new videos. If you want to support me on my other social media platforms, all of the links you need will be in the video description below. If you have any questions about this video or another topic that you'd like me to discuss, leave me a comment and I'll do my best to get you an answer. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.